So good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Knowledge Miles 695th Lord Mayor's lecture. Delighted to introduce Sean Jones with us this morning, who's going to talk to us through the title of Like a Duck to Water, Empowering Diverse and Creative Thinking for London's Future Success. So I'll probably introduce Sean in a moment, but just a few kind of parish notices. Sean's going to talk to us for about 20 minutes. That should leave us plenty of time for questions. So do please keep them coming in. This is very much your session in the second half. So even if they're not direct questions, but reflections, I can pick those out and we can pose them to Sean for hopefully a lively Q&A at the end of it. In asking the question, you will see at the top right hand of the screen a call out box with a question mark in. Please put your questions in there. Don't put them in the chat. Don't try and put your hand up because they're unmonitored and we'll miss them. So if you can make sure to use that box with a question mark, that'll be good. We generally get lots and lots of questions, generally too many to ask in the session. The good news is all of the questions do get captured. The background facilitator for the session will acknowledge your question so that you know it's been seen. And if we don't get to ask them, they will be sent on to Sean and along with your details, and he can reply to you directly. You'll see the session is being recorded and it will go up on what is our dedicated YouTube channel for the whole of the lecture series. So clearly Sean is the best, but there's a few hundred sitting behind it if you want to go back and have a look at those. So so just a quick welcome to Sean. Sean's got 25 plus years experience in the creative industry, worked for some of the leading agencies in London, where he's played a really pivotal role in driving design, innovation, creativity for many global brands. Outside of the career, Sean is a co-founded a product that tries to inspire children to explore creative potential while embracing sustainability. He's too modest to mention it, but I do know Sean, and I know that he made the cut and appeared on Dragon's Den with his partner to pitch it. So I should leave the outcome of that to Sean. More recently, Sean's redirected his focus to supporting organisations in looking at transformative change through creative and collaborative human-centred strategies, and facilitates guides teams in navigating the most pressing challenges through a creative engagement resulting in tangible outcomes, innovative solutions, and that's behavioural change and unlocking potential for the people in it. It's really about driving meaningful and pragmatic change. So Sean is an exponent of a thing called Lego Serious Play, which he's going to share a little bit about today, which is within the oeuvre of gamification design thinking, and Sean is a great expert in that. And he's a good egg because outside of the work, he advises the board of Empathy at Empathy Week, an educational platform designed to nurture empathy skills in young folk and creating positive change in society. And he also lends his expertise in as an advisor at the Courage Leaders annual event, which is focused on inspiring leaders to lead with purpose, authenticity, courage and cause. So again, making positive impact in the community through their own personal leadership, develop leadership style. So Sean, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to pass over to you, my friend, for the next 20 minutes, and then we'll be back for the Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. That's a lot going on. I don't know how I fit it all in, to be honest, but thank you for that that wonderful introduction, and thank you to everybody who's listening in to the forecast, the webinar today. Really looking forward to talking to you about creativity, all things play, and we are going to talk about some Lego in there as well. So I have a deck I'm going to actually talk you through as part of my presentation. As Mark said, it should take about 20 minutes. Excuse me. Hopefully you can all now see, and I'm just going to check with Mark that you can see my main presentation window. I'm assuming that's a yes. Okay, so let's get started. So I think this is a wonderful series of lectures. I've listened to many of them, so feeling no pressure whatsoever. But what I really wanted to start off with is this idea of this whole series of lectures being inspired by Michael Mainelli's idea of the City of London being the world's coffee house. And what a wonderful concept. Some of you might be tuning in from a coffee house right now, and they're synonymous with creativity. For centuries, they've been hubs of intellectual discussions, artistic expression, and people coming together from writers, artists, and philosophers. And one of the most famous coffee houses in London opened in the 1600s, just off Cornhill in the heart of the financial district. And it was a meeting place not only for those intellectuals and arty types, but also merchants and business folk, very much like today's coffee houses. And today they continue to be spaces for meeting up with friends, co-workers and business partners. They've also become the unofficial headquarters of entrepreneurs planning to dominate the world of commerce. They are fantastic places. They bring together diverse people from different sections of society and professions, exchanging ideas and creating communities for today's writers, creative thinkers, and entrepreneurs. After all, who doesn't like a great cup of coffee? They feel like spaces where we can experience more freedom and express ourselves more creatively. Coffee houses represent the perfect synergy of diversity, culture, creativity, and business. All of which perfectly describes this wonderful city of London. In this hub of creativity and commerce, we get to interact with diverse people and experiences. We can find our tribe and develop networks where creativity, leisure, and business all mix, making London a hotbed of inspiration, ideas, and escapism, and offers the freedom to do things differently. So this is a place where creativity and business thrives. We're renowned the world over for our commerce, but equally so for our creativity. We've given the world incredible music: Bowie, the Beatles, the Stones, Ed Sheeran, Stormzy. I mean, the list goes on. And galleries all over the world are littered with the work of our great artists, from Hogarth to Hockney to Hirst. And that's before we even get to fashion, literature, theatre and film. Okay, so I'm really showing my age with some of these references, but we do have an amazing track record of creativity, and we have the stats to prove it. According to the Mayor of London's office, that's the other fella, London's creative economy is worth around £52 billion. That's approximately £10 million every hour. And that figure is nearly double across the entire UK. So 1 in 6 jobs in London are in the creative industry, covering everything from fashion, TV, film, advertising, and thousands of other creative businesses. It's one of the UK's fastest growing sectors and where many of tomorrow's jobs will be. So where does all this creativity come from? Well, it starts with play. Play is at the heart of the creative community. They've got a license to play. If they're not playing, they're not doing their jobs well enough. I mean, where would Monty Python be without play, the Sex Pistols, or Tracy Emin's Unmade Bed? They wouldn't exist. As a society, we have an innate desire to play. And when we do, we can create amazing things, innovative things, things that move people and add value to their lives. But most of us don't operate in that creative world, and play is certainly not a term you will hear very often in the corporate heart of the city. For many, play has been consigned to childhood, left at the school gates or in the commercial corridors of business. But play has enormous power. Its virtues have been written about for generations. So this quote, often attributed to Plato, without a Y obviously, beautifully highlights the power of play. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. And there are many famous quotes about play from other great thinkers such as Einstein and Nietzsche, to luminaries such as Bill Gates and Bart Simpson, who said, "Fun does not come in sizes," meaning we're all neither too big or old to play. They all emphasize that play is essential for creativity, learning, and our well-being. So play allows us to lower our inhibitions. It makes us less afraid to try new things. We can suspend reality and explore new ideas, new worlds, anything we can imagine. We reconnect with our childhood. As children, we learn through play. We sing, scream, act, build, dance, draw, and let our imaginations run wild. But as adults, we don't play much. And unsurprisingly, when it comes to getting creative, coming up with new ideas, problem solving, we can find those tasks really challenging. So play really engages our imagination. It enables us to use a different part of our brain, carving out new neural pathways and new possibilities, as opposed to the well-worn paths we've created over our years of experience and taught behaviors. It encourages experimentation. When we play, the stakes are lower. It feels safer to play with unconventional ideas or thoughts. We can make mistakes without the pressure of perfection or being judged. Great inventions from penicillin to the post-it note have been brought into the world through experimentation and imperfection. And of course, we build better human connection, which is vital for forging deep relationships, enabling us to truly understand each other and better communicate and build empathy. And not forgetting, of course, fun. It's one of the best medicines. It makes us happy, it reduces stress, it boosts morale, and it increases our energy and productivity. So all of this wonderful stuff helps us to be creative. And now creativity is more vital than ever in our business institutions. London is without doubt a leading creative hub and sits at the epicenter of one of the world's most successful business communities. This convergence of expertise and experience presents an amazing opportunity to put creativity explicitly at the heart of business and keep us ahead of the game. But we're talking about two distinct areas of expertise. So first, we need to break down that wall that separates creativity and business, and that time is now. The rise of AI will not only help us, but will make creativity fundamental to our future success. This very small word is beginning to have a huge impact. It represents a real danger, but also amazing opportunities are ahead of us. Let's just explore that in the context of why creativity is important to the future success of how we do business. Undoubtedly, AI is set to revolutionize how we think about and conduct business. It's already being used in so many fields, and we're using it ourselves every day through platforms like ChatGPT. And London is at the forefront of this technology, which gives us a significant advantage. According to Forbes, the AI industry in the UK is currently worth around £16.8 billion, and it's expected to grow to a whopping £800 billion by 2035. We already know that AI can do all of these things, along with a whole host of other stuff, and it can do them much faster and more efficiently than we'll ever be able to do. So many of the tasks we do today will be handled by AI in the future, and it will reshape many jobs, particularly those in the knowledge sector, and I'm sure there's lots of others that you can think of too. And while for many this is a scary proposition, it also presents an opportunity, the opportunity to embrace creativity, that uniquely human trait that can propel business and society forward. This need has already been identified. According to the World Economic Forum, 44% of workers' core skills are expected to change in the next 5 years. And creative thinking is set to be the most sought after skill, overtaking analytical thinking, in which obviously AI will play a significant role. And while AI can handle analysis and automation beautifully, its creativity as yet is limited by reworking existing ideas or combining data that's already out there in the world. And some of this will have huge value. It would be wrong of me to say that AI can't be creative. We're already seeing that. There will be many aspects of the creative economy where AI will have a huge impact, but true creative thinking still sits in the domain of the human. So AI isn't capable of originating new ideas like us because it doesn't have feelings. It can't forge emotional connections. It doesn't understand empathy. It can't pick up on the subtle differences that we feel, see, hear, and touch that really allow us to come up with new, unique thoughts and ideas. It doesn't have common sense or intuition, which are sometimes the basis upon which we make decisions, certainly when it comes to problem solving in complex situations. And it can't make moral or ethical decisions when faced with ambiguity. These are very human traits and important in forming many of our creative responses to the world around us. Fundamentally, AI can't be us. Creativity involves more than just combining existing elements. It includes intuition, emotion, and an understanding of context. So this leaves a gap ready for creativity to fill. Because when many of the tasks we do today are automated through AI, and every global business hub has the same technology to do the same thing, creative thinking will enable London to stay at the forefront of business. Because creative methods of engagement unlock better, deeper thinking, enabling us to connect and find solutions to complex challenges. Business needs creativity, and creativity needs business. Business provides the focus to harness creativity and apply it to meet very real needs. Creativity makes business interesting and inventive, a place where diverse creative people want to be, a place where they can solve problems at all levels of society. So creative thinking, what does it give us? Well, it drives innovation by inspiring fresh ideas and novel approaches to meet needs in business and society. It improves our problem-solving capabilities by encouraging us to explore unconventional solutions. And we're more adaptable to change through fostering a culture of experimentation and openness to new ideas. And of course, we get greater engagement among employees and stakeholders, really enabling people to connect and collaborate and get enthused about the things that we're trying to do and solve. And it vitally builds competitive edge by generating unique solutions, products, or services that set businesses apart and can help broader communities. But how do we unlock creativity in business? It's one thing to talk about it, but it's another to do it. I've been helping businesses make ideas happen for nearly 25 years, as Mark said earlier on in the webinar. From startups to global organizations I've worked with. And my time spent in creative agencies working on design and innovation projects taught me that the most rewarding moments in our clients' day were often the ones they spent with us. They got to play and engage in creative thinking in a way they just didn't experience back at corporate HQ. So when I exited the world of the design agency, I knew I wanted to bring creativity into business in a way that could help them think differently about how they problem solve and come up with ideas. And this is where I come back to play. Not just any play, but serious play. And while many of us might not always feel playful or feel creative a lot of the time, we're all inherently creative and we're all inherently born to play. We just need a little helping hand, and we can do that through the art of play. So this is where Lego comes in, or to be precise, Lego Serious Play. So I work with leaders and teams, empowering them to explore and apply their unique creativity to solve the challenges they face through this facilitated technique. And it was created back in the 90s by a couple of Danish business professors in conjunction with Lego. And they were looking at trying to find ways to help businesses to think differently, to innovate and to solve problems and enhance their performance. And while our brain is super efficient and infinitely capable of creative thinking, it typically seeks out answers to problems that we already possess through our lived experiences. But we won't always find the solution there. And that's why we need a different approach. So they looked at how children learn. And as I said before, with little or no experience to call upon, they learn primarily through play, especially with their hands, scribbling, painting, and of course, building. So by drawing on these natural learning processes of children, they developed a methodology that encourages adults to use their creativity and problem-solving skills in a playful yet structured way. So how does it work? Well, it starts off by giving your brain a hand. I mean, a large area of our brain is devoted to processing sensory information. So there's a really strong connection between our fingers and our brain. And that space in between is where this magic, or the magic of this technique really happens. It's almost as if your hands are building the ideas before your brain. I mean, I've seen people staring at me like rabbits in the headline, saying, "You want me to build an answer to a complex question with Lego? Are you crazy?" It works. When I ask them to build that model, I just say to them, start building with bricks. Start putting bricks together, the ideas will flow. You will get into that creative flow, and it works every time. We get to visualize our thinking. So by bringing a problem or an idea to life physically, it's much easier to explain it. We can share those ideas or thoughts in detail through the physical model. And we can invite other people into it with their thoughts and ideas, adapting the model as we go, collaborating, building better and shared visions of the future. And it's all about metaphors. So we're building metaphors, enabling us to articulate complexity with ease. If I say the elephant in the room, I think most people understand what that metaphor stands for. There's a problem, there's something we need to discuss, something we need to deal with. And Lego Serious Play operates in the same way, but in a physical way. And importantly, that Lego model that a person builds is unique to them. It means what it means to them and them alone until they share it. And of course, we have storytelling. Storytelling captures our imagination, it engages with our audience, and it takes them on a journey, persuading them of the value and the benefits of our thinking. So this is what it looks like. It can look a bit crazy and chaotic. It's a lot of fun. There's lots of Lego. There's lots of discussion, collaboration, people really working and engaging in serious discussions. So I facilitate these sessions and I focus on a particular problem. That might be around bringing teams together, getting them to collaborate better together, defining a shared purpose. I will familiarize the participants through skills building exercises. This is just about getting them used to the concept of metaphors, but also they may not have played with Lego for decades. And I ask questions related to the challenge. Everyone builds a response and everyone shares their story, whether there's 4 or 40 people in the room. And it doesn't matter whether you're the CEO or the front of house, every voice is heard. This process flattens hierarchy and democratizes the sharing of ideas. After all, a great idea can come from anywhere in your organization. So I actively encourage curiosity in the model and in the story that's being presented. And this creates a safe space for people to better understand ideas, to challenge them, to agree with them, or to debate them to change the future outcome of those ideas. So not only do we build our own thoughts and ideas in response to a challenge, but we work together as a team, testing ideas, iterating, building consensus until we get to a solution through diverse thinking and alignment. And this can be applied then beyond the session into the real world scenario that they're trying to solve. So I've used it in many different contexts for many different organizations. I help them build new ideas and come up with new ideas. It can be around innovation in terms of service or product or process. We use it for things like team building, where we want teams to better collaborate, to understand each other, to empathize with each other. And of course, we can look at culture, things like purpose and behavior, vision, mission, values, enabling teams to define their common purpose around what it is they're trying to do and achieve. One can even metaphorically build out a business. We can build an organization and take a helicopter view of it, work out where the gaps and opportunities, who are the key players, who are the agents around your organization, where factors can have a huge impact on your business. And I even use it in one-to-one coaching sessions. When people are stuck, whether that's professionally or personally, when they've got blockers, being able to use your hands, connect your fingers to your brain to really get deep under these challenges and these issues, it just has an amazing effect that people are able to explore and articulate what it is they feel and think and how they may be able to overcome some of those challenges. And just here's a couple of real world solutions. This was one of a series of models which were created by the business development and marketing team of a large global law firm. And the purpose of the session was to bring 2 teams together and identify their shared purpose and values. And not only did it provide an effective and inclusive platform for these 2 teams to come together in a creative and collegiate way, but post the session, they were able to take these models away and the meaning of these models, their shared purpose and values, and they were able to bring them into their appraisal process, into how they acquired new talent, really weaving them into the fabric of their culture and their business. And each one of these pieces and characters and objects would mean something specific around that particular value or that particular purpose that they were looking to achieve. This is a larger model that was created by some senior leaders of a global data research business. And these models can be huge because they can be quite complex. But their mission was to create a helicopter view of the organization, visualizing both the internal and the external aspects of their business. They factored in different teams, technology, infrastructure, clients, suppliers, and identified areas of risk and opportunity. And by doing this, they could role play scenarios through the model, probing the gaps and areas of opportunity to help them identify and test strategies. So this approach can be used in many, many different ways. There really are no limits to the ability of creativity and play having a huge impact on business. And while it's serious play, we have a lot of fun doing it. As I said earlier on, fun and joy and happiness are some of the best medicines we can have. Some serious organizations use it. They're using the creativity and using the power of play, and specifically Lego serious play, to help them tackle real world challenges. So why do we need play and creativity in business? Because it enables great creative thinking and the ability to imagine novel ideas. It offers more opportunities for innovation and to build better solutions. It enhances our problem-solving capabilities. It encourages experimentation by breaking down boundaries. And it fosters a deeper collaboration and understanding of diverse perspectives. It improves communication for effective information sharing. And it enhances connection, helping us to build deeper relationships. And finally, storytelling. Making ideas memorable and connecting with audiences is so important. So finally, how do we encourage creativity to flourish in business? Well, we need to encourage diversity of thought, create an environment where everyone feels safe to share ideas, promote collaboration between different teams, and welcome ideas from all corners of the business. We need to generate lots of ideas, not just the good ones, but the bad ones too. Encourage your teams to produce lots of ideas without fixating on perfection. People will always have their favorite, they'll always have some crazy notion, but those outliers can hold the seeds of a great idea. And we need to embrace failure as a learning tool. It shouldn't just be tolerated, but encouraged. Failure is a part of the innovation journey, and it enables greater learning, resilience, and risk taking. We need to provide time and space for creativity. With AI, we should be able to dedicate time to explore and creative pursuits or innovative projects. Also, we need to create space where it's conducive for brainstorming and experimentation. Don't have to have ping pong. It just needs to feel a little bit different to the corporate space. And of course, we need to promote play, organize workshops, training sessions, team building activities that promote play and gamification. Encourage your teams to learn through experimentation and play. And finally, we need to reward creativity, acknowledge and celebrate innovative thinking and creativity. Bring it into your review process. Build a reward system that incentivizes and highlights those who contribute to making your organization a more creative place to be. So, to my mind, there is no doubt that London can be the world's coffee house of the future. We already have all the key ingredients: creativity in abundance, great commercial expertise, and the diversity of talent to deliver it. So, who wants to play? Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. That was really, really interesting, and I love with it the fact within seconds you managed to get David Bowie quotes in, and I purposely blur my background out, but it is festooned with David Bowie memorabilia, so you get a big personal tick in a box from me there. We got some questions in there, but I'm going to be
Oh,
chairman's privilege, being a bit self-indulgent, and ask a question of my own first off, if I may, and it's kind of around the fact that people generally in business are quite playful business. So, you're playful people. We kind of we build personal relationships. The coffee house is about socializing and play, but somehow we lose humor when we come to the formality of thinking about our businesses and designing. And we go from, you have a very colorful background. We go from being very colorful people to kind of going into black and white and a fair bit of gray in between times. We I just think it's worth a few words from you about the role of humour in business and brand, and a little bit maybe how Lego series play in that process actually releases the humour in people. I know you have the 10 little brains that you always talk about, but just bringing
the
humour to
80% of the brain cells to the fingertips, which is not quite accurate, but yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. It's obviously it's learned behaviors, isn't it? It's a mindset, and you're absolutely right to say that many of us, can be very playful characters in our social lives. And you rightly said, when we're building connections, even in business with people, and ultimately, as we all know, business is about people. It's about connections. It's about making those connections. And I think somewhere along the line that, as I sort of said in the presentation, play and humor to a degree has been kind of consigned, or humor's been consigned to this playful thing that doesn't belong in business, or hasn't done for a very, very long time. And so we kind of lose our authentic self, or we don't put forward our most authentic self. So I think humor's got, humor's an interesting concept, because it's a way that we also process really complicated feelings. If we think about, World War II, some of the best humor came off the back of World War II because of that terrible, terrible period. Humor was a way of dealing with it, and so it dealt with really hard, complex things. So I think it is a mindset. It's about how we can bring out more of our authentic self in, and I think the play process, and certainly with Lego Serious Play, because to some people it will feel mad walking into a room full of Lego, and playing with Lego as an adult, but it really does take them back to their childhood. And when you're a child, humor is everything, right? Comedy is everything. Funny, it's totally, when you're a kid, anything is possible, and you can say literally anything. And I think we kind of squashed ourselves a little bit as we've got older. So I think the play brings us back to childhood, and it facilitates that humor in a much easier way that allows us to bring it into the sort of business context.
there's some points and reflections sitting in here about how this changes the normal construct of thinking, within a meeting environment. There is a specific point in there about process and system thinking, and
Mm.
how we'll come back to that in a second. But a couple of the threads in there, they're starting to get into, does this process change that fundamentally? And I'm going to put my words into this. Does it democratize the meeting? So actually hidden heroes come forward because they happen to be not the most senior people in the room, the loudest voices, but by the medium of not having to speak, but through the medium of building, and actually their quality of building with Lego. Is that then driving out a kind of re-democratization? You could have the biggest voice in the room, but the worst Lego builder, the best Lego builder, but the smallest voice.
Absolutely. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think it's one of its superpowers actually when we bring play and specifically Lego serious play into the room. It really flattens the hierarchy. Everybody can use Lego, even if you've never played with Lego as a child. It's a fairly easy concept to get your fingers around. And so when we get in the room, you're absolutely right. There's always going to be, and we've all seen it around the boardroom table, around any meeting. There's always people who have got a lot to say. They want to say things. They're eager to say things, and often want to be heard. But sometimes we're missing those nuggets of insights, those brilliant ideas, from that quiet person in the corner who is just a bit more introvert, doesn't want to step up and speak out loud, or is fearful that what they've got to say doesn't have value. And what I love about this process is that because everybody engages, you can't be in the room and not engage. It's just not allowed. There are ground rules. If you're in, you're building and you're sharing ideas, and everybody speaks and everybody gets a portion of time. So everything I do is timed actually. So when I say, right, you've now got 5 minutes to build this model and I want you to each spend 2 minutes telling the story of your model to each other, everybody gets the opportunity to be heard and speak and put their idea across. And it just enables people to be really curious when you do that. When you build something, you visualize and you can share it with them. So those quiet people, those people perhaps where you're not used to hearing the ideas, have as prominent a voice as anybody else in the room. And I've seen some amazing consequences of that, of people who then come out of those meetings and having spoken to their line managers about their performance, how they've now heard them coming forward with more ideas, being more vocal in standard meetings because they just found that confidence to speak out and go, actually, my ideas and thoughts do have value. I'm going to do this more. So Lego in that respect and play has been a catalyst to help them to do that.
Oh, okay. Um, we've clearly got some people that work in the innovation space on here, because they're talking about, is Lego play a completely different view of traditional innovation programming, or does it align to, does it adjunct to, is it replacing? So where does it fit into that kind of taxonomy of
Yeah,
innovation?
personally, I think it aligns. And interestingly, I use some processes that sit around it that do align to more, I would say, conventional innovation processes. So I would say it's not about replacing. I think it's another great tool. So I'm not going to pretend it can do absolutely everything. I mean, I do use it a lot in a lot of processes and innovation processes. But I would say that it aligns with, I think, with the innovation process as we often see it today. It's another tool for bringing in, uh, for enabling people to really dig under the sort of issues, the challenges, that big problem. What is the problem we're really trying to face? And you can use the tool aligned with different steps of the innovation process, taking you through that initial sort of problem. What's the problem we're trying to define? What's the aspiration? How are we going to flip that on its head? And then how do we go through and come up with ideas, test, iterate, etc. And you can use Lego at every stage of that. I suppose it depends how much Lego people want to play with. I would say it aligns with the innovation process rather than overtaking or replacing it.
Okay. There's a couple of ways we can go on for some of the other questions. So let's go. You mentioned about emotional connectors and emotional connection sitting as part of the process. And in that kind of, the brand hierarchy, any piece of academia will tell you it's about making that emotional connection. Again, just how much deeper does that get using something like the releasing power, the mental releasing power of Lego serious play as against traditional brand thinking, brand workshop, kind of,
Yeah,
if there's an old fashioned way of doing brand thinking.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and obviously having been in quite a few different types of workshops and sessions, and using different types of tools, I have found while all of them have purpose, of course they do, and they're well directed, and they'll have creative inputs and a certain amount of play. I still don't find that they're quite playful enough to dig deep down into that emotional sense of ourselves, and I think that's what for me Lego does. There's something about that. It's like when you daydream, that classic idea of when you're daydreaming, you sort of detach yourself. You detach yourself from your brain almost, because you're daydreaming, your imagination is going kind of crazy and doing different things. And I think it's the same with Lego. For a moment, when you're building, when you're in that zone of using Lego Serious Play, you almost detach yourself from who you are, from your business as usual, from your day as usual, and you allow yourself just to imagine and play and create these things, and you're almost not conscious of the people around you. So when you come back into that zone of sharing, you're in a much different state of flow. I think you're in this kind of creative flow, which makes it much easier for you to connect with the people around you and to share your ideas and thoughts and to collaborate with them. And I think it just helps to create that much deeper connection, because I think you go deeper into yourself through this act of play than you might do through lots of other processes and applications that I've come across.
Okay, so rounding off, because I want to get into the AI bit, obviously, which was another main thread in here. But there's a couple of questions in here about the breadth of business types that you've supported. I mean, you've called a few out
Yeah.
anecdotally in there, but maybe about where does this work, where doesn't it work? Bearing in mind, many of the folks sitting on the call will be City of London based, and this is within the square mile, so maybe kind of contextualize a little bit
Yeah.
to the types of businesses in there, and also, are there areas where this just doesn't work? Have you found? There's a question in there about have you found the boundaries of of
Mm.
where it's just not going to work? Question around that.
Yeah, so I'll answer the second question first. I have yet to find somewhere that I've not been able to apply it. And of course, I haven't worked in every industry and every type of organization. Um, in some instances, I've actually found when I've been using it, I've brought in other traditional methods. If I've been running a day-long workshop, I'll be using Lego for certain parts of it, and I'll use some of the more traditional methods for getting people to think differently. And I've often come away from that thinking, I wish I'd have used Lego in that situation as well, because I think it would have done a better job of getting to some of the thinking and solutions that we wanted. So as yet, I haven't found anywhere. That doesn't mean to say there isn't. So I apologize, it's not a complete answer to that question. In terms of the breadth, often when people ask me about this, I talk about being quite agnostic. I mean, obviously, I come from a creative industry background, and so clearly it can work within that form, in that area of industry. But I've worked with law firms, accountancy companies. I've worked with insurtech. I mean, obviously, I've had some experience in that space, Mark, around insurtech businesses. So, lots of sort of financial, legal, insurance-based organizations, and that's, which are very much at the heart of the city. And if anything, I find the people that I engage with in those spaces are some of the most creative people I come across. It's almost like, people where perhaps from the outside, folks would say, well, they're not very creative in those industries. I beg to differ. Some of the most creative people I've found have been in the kind of professional services industries, aching to get some great ideas out and really connect with this process incredibly well, much more so than perhaps I even ever imagined. And then outside of that, I've worked with retail businesses, I've worked with marketing organizations, a whole manner of different businesses. So I wouldn't, I'm not again going to say it will work everywhere, but my experience has been quite broad in that context.
Okay. Actually, it's interesting. A couple of sentences back, the question has just popped up while we've been doing the Q&A that says London's been a great beneficiary of talented and creative people coming to live and work in it. What can be done to continue to attract people like this to the city? And I'll put a slight adjunct to that question of looking immediately to the next generation as we are getting into AI and that kind of sea change, the step change you were talking about. Are we actually in danger of attracting the wrong people coming in? Do we really need to put a bit of a kind of pause and reboot sitting in there?
It's a really interesting question, and one of the things I was debating myself before giving this talk, and part of the presentation was this idea of the threat of AI. And I actually chose to kind of go down the route of the opportunity. Because there's no doubt, and I know we're probably going to dive a bit into AI, that it is a threat, in lots of different ways. I think that comment that came in earlier about we've attracted creative people and we've benefited from creativity for a long time is absolutely 100% true, and hopefully we can continue to do that as we move forward. I think we've got to recognize. I don't think we've recognized the creative output from this great nation, this great city, this great nation. We've got enormous exports, and we've done huge amounts of work around this. And as I sort of showed some of the statistics, the revenue that comes in from it is huge. But for some reason, in the mindset of our institutions and a political level, we don't see creativity as being that kind of hard-hitting, professional, serious business that makes money. And actually, we could do a lot more with it. So we could support it, I think, at our institutions in a much better way. And I think we'll always continue to attract people here because of the diversity of the city. We've got a very diverse city, and that diversity does attract creative people. It attracts people who want to be different, and creativity comes out of wanting to be different. So I think we can continue to do that. In terms of whether we should attract in the right or wrong kinds of skills, I suppose this is the big question around AI. There's a danger that we see AI as being able to do everything. It can fulfill everything. We're already seeing it being used creatively. Anybody can now go and create a wonderful looking image, a beautiful image. But what's the idea behind it? Where was the thinking? What was the emotional context around that? What was the need for it? So there is a real danger, and it will impact the creative industry as well. I've no doubt about that. But I think we do need to be careful that we don't enable AI just to be the answer to everything, and that we remember that we as human beings and the way that we operate and our creative instincts are the things that really help to drive change. After all, AI came out of play and creativity. It didn't invent itself. We invented it. So I think it's really important to remember that. But yeah, we're going to need to continue to elevate creativity, which is obviously the purpose of the talk.
So to answer our friend's question, diversity of thought, diversity of people from non-traditional backgrounds, people that are just going to think differently and not be in that kind of old social construct.
Thank you for finishing the answer.
A bit like your Lego models, you had all of the parts.
Absolutely, yeah. You added your own thoughts. That's brilliant. Thank you for that.
And actually, probably the last question. We've got a couple of minutes left. There's some things about the AI sitting in there, and just again to think thematically about the questions coming in, about kind of lazy-mindedness, over-reliance on AI, being able to trust and being trustworthy of what's coming out of AI. So where is this intersection between humanity and AI? And from a creative point of view, very specifically, where do you think the next challenges are right now?
Gosh, it's a really, really big question, isn't it?
Sorry.
I think it's a really good question. I think we're hugely in discovery phase. So at the moment, I think we're all responding and reacting understandably in a way which some of it's driven by fear, some of it's driven by excitement. I certainly know from a creative industry perspective, there's going to be two camps of thought. One which is, well, this has the opportunity and potential to replace lots and lots of people's livelihoods, because you can automate a certain amount of creativity. So I think there is that fear. I think on the other side of it, there's a lot of creativity that's going to be enhanced by AI. And I think can we view AI as a collaborator, as a different, almost a different person in the room? When I talk about the emotional connection and when we collaborate and we work with people, that's when the great stuff happens. I mean, we can all come up with ideas ourselves, but they're brilliant when we connect them to other people, because they will see something, a pattern in there, a thought, an idea that you would never have thought of. And I think AI will be able to play a certain role to do that. It will be able to prod us and poke us in a certain way. So I think the idea of collaboration with AI is an interesting way forward, and how we should be thinking about it, rather than it being completely dominated by humans or completely dominated by AI. I still think the creative thinking will come from us, but as a tool, AI will create some amazing opportunities for us. but it can't as yet build a Lego duck, as far as I'm aware. But somebody will build a robot, I'm sure, that can, with AI, build, an infinite amount of Lego ducks.
Well, God forbid we ever get to a place where we don't have the Sean Jones Lego duck. Sean
Thank you,
has been an
Mark.
absolute delight. We've run down on time now, so just a huge thank you for giving up your time this morning and coming, kind of informing, educating, and dare I say, entertaining us with a really interesting, insightful lecture. We have more coming up, which I should allow others to read on it. Actually, the top one, I'm back on duty tomorrow on a completely different. I'm on to terrorism tomorrow. Dare I say, a slightly more serious topic for ending the week. But do everybody tune in, share. These are well socialised around on all our LinkedIn profiles. So encourage people to come in, sign up, and you hear great people like Sean. So once again, thank you, Sean. Thank you to
Thank
the
you,
Lord
Mark.
Mayor as always for putting this series together. It's a wonderful set of learning and insight that's going out throughout the year. So as I said at the outset, aside of Sean's, there's probably 50 to 100 already sitting in the bank, with more to come in the second half of the year. Always shout out to our friends at ZN that produce these things for us. So the ever silent Jacopo that sits in the background, who's an absolute hero over these things, of making all of this happen. So thank you, ZN. Thank you, Jacopo. And finally, always thank you to the audience for taking time out of your day to come spend time with us. It's nothing without you and the great questions that came through. Sean, please know you're off duty from now. We managed to get through all of the questions that were on there, so we're done on that. So that's it. So it's really just for me to say goodbye and wish you all a very happy rest of your week. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Mark, and thanks to the audience. Brilliant. Thank you.